Hey, happy Monday, everyone. It's 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show, and I am Greg, Mester Scrum Master and Agile Coach, and I hope you're doing well this happy Monday morning. And today after Easter here, so I took yesterday off. But today we're going to talk about sprint planning part A and part B, just because I'm doing a couple of sprint plannings, and I figured I'd just talk about it a little bit and share some of the things I coach the teams on how to do sprint planning. And we did 5,000 podcast downloads as of yesterday. So we got a little badge for the podcast. So thank you very much for everyone who downloaded our podcast over the year or so. And let's keep it up. This is great. So we're expanding to the world. Realized that we're getting more countries in Africa that we're growing into, and other places around the world, and covering more of the globe and the United States. So thank you all for sharing everything. And let's get to it. So I am Greg, Mester Scrum Master and Agile Coach. This is the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. We are late. It's 8:26, and this is our 587th episode of the show. And we talk about Scrum and Agile in a practical and tactical way, so you can get value to the customer, not work crazy hours, get home to your family and friends. Can you enjoy a holiday every once in a while, right? And not work. And have a little fun in the office and at home. So a couple of things, like I said earlier, got 5,000 downloads for podcasts. Apparently there's a little badge in Podbean. So like, ooh, you got a badge. So that's cool. We got a badge. And then getting up early this morning, got to see the space docking of the SpaceX Crew Dragon. They moved it from one thing on the international station to the other. It's probably kind of why I was late. Plus, I was uploading some more podcasts and doing that for the week, getting that off my Kanban list to do. And just enjoyed yesterday. It was a beautiful day. And Saturday afternoon, did a lot of exercising, trying to lose some weight, get healthy. And we'll see how it goes. Anyway, Sprint A, Part A and Part B. And you're probably like thinking, Craig, what are you talking about? What is this Part A and Part B? Well, this is something that's not in your books. This is my technique. This is what everybody says, but no one writes down. Many episodes I talked about, you can do sprint planning Part A in 5 minutes, right? Part B is a little longer. So what is Part A and Part B? When you do sprint planning, some people are like, oh, we're just going to do it all in an hour and be done with it. I said, well, you know what? All those teams that do that sprint planning an hour and be done with it pretty much fail. They're not that productive. They're not that good. Okay? I'm going to tell you that right now. It's true. So if you have a sprint that's like 2 weeks per the Scrum Guide, you're spending about 4 hours planning your sprint. If it's a 4-week sprint, probably spending about a whole day, 8 hours planning your sprint. So that's much time you do on the first day. People chintz on that and cheat and they cut it down to nothing, and they don't get a very effective sprint planning. And they wonder why things don't go so well during the sprint. And that's part of it because you don't take the time to plan. So Part A is where the team meets with the product owners and they pick what stories they want to do in the sprint. It's just an estimate. It's like, okay, product owner says, these are the stories. They're all we did the refinement sessions. They're all good. Maybe there's one or two. So let's say all the stories that the product owner is going to introduce to the team, saying, hey, I would like this work to be done in the next sprint to meet our deadline schedules for customer needs and stuff that based on maybe use Moscow, maybe use some kind of priority system. And the team would say yay or nay on each story. I said, yeah, it looks good. A lot of times you don't read the stories because if you already did the refinement, you don't need to read the stories again. Okay. You don't. Some people read it again. I'm like, why? You already reviewed it. Unless the product owner says, we made a change to the story, there's no need to review the story. You already pointed, you already estimated, everything's good to go. And theoretically, you can get that done in 5 minutes. It was a competition. I said, no one takes me up on these competitions. I don't understand. So, and then based on what your average velocity for your team is, what your norms, you figure out how many points you can take, and you take that many points. I think usually a product owner might give you 1 or 2 more, and then you can say yay or nay. You can do it. So based on that, you come back and say, whether or not you're going to do it or not, right? With that information in hand, what happens next is the team, the dev team, right? The developers, testers, whoever makes up the people that do the work of the team, take those stories and they task them out. They add some tasks, maybe some generic tasks. I always tell people every story I want to see at least 2 tasks. The 2 tasks are development and testing. Anything past that, it's up to you as a team, do whatever. But I'm looking for at least 2 tasks under each story. Building the story, building the product, and testing the product, make sure it met with what the people and the team decided wanted to do. Now, what about that part? So this is part B. So part B can take all day, can take a partial day, could be like the developing team meets for a little bit beforehand, maybe a half hour, maybe they divvy up the work and say, hey, I'm going to go take up these stories. Maybe there's some stories they want to work together. They identify whether or not they want to say, okay, Greg, you take this story. Jane, you take that story. Muhammad, you take that story. And you task it out. And then maybe they come back a couple of hours later and they look at the tasking, how they did, and they agree on these are the tasks we want to do for these stories. This is how I interpret it. Or they could do it all together. It's up to them. A lot of teams like to go off in their own world and come back later in the day and show it up. So it takes about 4 hours, right? Because between meeting and planning how you want to task out the stories, who's going to do what, divvying up, and then going off and actually tasking the stories, and then coming back and making sure the team all agrees. So they have to agree, and they agree. It takes about 4 hours for a 2-week sprint. What benefit does this? One, when you come back, you can decide how many. Maybe you want to estimate how many hours, or maybe you realize there's a lot more work, and you want the team to talk about it. Maybe you got to get back to the product owner before the end of the day and say, this one story we took on is going to take a lot more work than we planned, so we got to take one of these stories off for that we agreed to, or put it towards the end, saying which one. We'll just let you know, product owner, there may be a story that may not get done this sprint because this may take more work. We can leave it in the sprint. It's up to you how you want to do it, but we're not guaranteeing all the stories that we said we wanted to do for the sprint are going to get done, because one of the stories or 2 of the stories are taken is based on what we tasked out. It's going to take longer than planned. So you have that discussion, right? So that's part A and part B. Part B, again, is where the team tasks out the work. They look at it and come back. What else I want to say? That's pretty much it. So that's what you need to do. So part A is when you all agree on what the stories are. Part B is when the team tasks everything out. You do this stuff, your sprints will go very well. And then everything else is just working together, learning new tools and new techniques to progress. So that's what I have as part A and part B. Hope it helps you out and think about it. If you have any questions about it, but again, this is not, they talk about it. Mike Cohen talks about it, tasking. And again, in the part B part, don't try to task out 100% of the work. Just get a 60 to 80% tasking coverage of what you think needs to be done for the job. Again, if you just do development and testing for tasks, it's pretty simple. You don't need to do all those hours, but it's good to kind of review it and look to see if there's anything and identify anything that's hard. Again, you might have some stories that the group says, let's talk about this story together as a group, because it's a little more complicated, more risks. So the ones that you do all the time that are average and below, people take off. The ones that are above the average, like, the 5s and 8s and 13s or whatever, those are the ones as a group they task together and they talk about it. That's what makes Scrum. If you don't do that, you're not doing Scrum. Sorry, you're not doing Scrum. You're doing the mechanics of Scrum, but you're not doing Scrum. Scrum is about a team of people working together to solve a complex solution. Okay? Anyway, that's what I have for today. I hope you have a good, happy Monday. Happy Monday. Enjoy. Give us a thumbs up. Ring the little bell. And again, thank you very much for 5,000 downloads on our podcast. We appreciate very much. And dream to the stars, right? This is beautiful stuff out there. And happy scrumming. Take care. Bye. and see you.